back at it again with this time Tim Sheridan. Tim, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
How are you enjoying the con?
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, this is my first time at MegaCon.
Oh, that's right. This is your first one.
My first time at this show. I went to high school near here.
Really?
Yeah, but I haven't come back in a while, so it's fun. In fact, I just saw some family. Some family just came by and said hello.
Hey, Mom, look at me.
I know, right? It's really cool.
So the first question I wanted to ask was similar to Jeremy's. Obviously, you did a lot of movies and whatnot. You're doing a lot of that. Was it easier or harder to transition into comics?
I think it's some people don't agree with me. I don't know what Jeremy said, but I find writing movies and TV to be a much more natural, experience for me. Comics, I don't think I'm ever going to feel like I know what I'm doing writing comics. I think it is incredibly challenging as a format, for storytelling. For me, some people take these, like Jeremy, I think, is somebody, speaking of him, who really has taken so well to the kind of way that comic books play out, the way you write a story. For me, I'm constantly fighting with how I want to write like TV and movies and how that doesn't quite work. They're not the same thing. You think they are, but they're just not. The biggest thing, people ask me all the time, what's the biggest difference between comics and like animation? And I say, actors. I miss actors. I've worked with some of the coolest actors in, Mark Hamill and, Kevin Conroy and Dietrich Bader and these incredible people. And so they bring so much to it that you don't get.
I was going to ask, is it because you can understand the energy and voice you're giving the character through the voice actor?
Look, it's always everything we do is a collaboration. Everything. And so you have artists and animation or comics. You have artists. You have, even executives at the license holders, and you have the writers. But in animation, you also have actors who are bringing their experience and everything that they, can do to the role and interpreting it. And sometimes they do stuff that you didn't even think of with a line, and so I miss that. But the best ones, like a lot of us still read Batman and we hear Kevin Conroy's voice in the comics. So the best, and Mark Hamill as well, we hear his voice. I think they stay with us, and to the point where we even hear that when we're reading the comics, and that adds to the comics too.
Now, the first comic I was introduced to you was Alan Scott Green Lantern, and it's this is going to be the dumbest line. As a straight white man, you made me cry over this whole comic.
Well, I think as a human being, I think you could.
The thing that broke me was actually with Spectre, where he was like, "He loves you."
Yeah.
I was like.
Yeah, Spectre. I was just talking to somebody about this before. That Spectre issue was kind of my backdoor pitch for a Spectre miniseries.
I overheard that.
I was like, oh, let me write a little Spectre. I would love to do that. But I felt like it was important for the time period in which Alan would be someone who grew up in the church and would have a lot of ideas that were either his own ideas or things that he had been taught and told.
Of what you thought of God.
And what God would think of him.
Yeah.
And so I had to kind of find a way to deal with that, and I thought the Spectre was a great way to introduce another great JSA character, but also speak with some authority on what God's idea might be in the DC universe for who Alan is.
So, obviously you've been doing Masters of the Universe and things like that, and this is my go-to all the time. Is there any characters in the DC toy box, or on the other side of the fence, the Marvel toy box, you want to play with in comics-wise?
Oh my God, there are so many. I have a plan. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't talk about this very often, but I have a plan for Tim Drake that I just wish that I could get a green light to do. So that's the white whale that's sitting out there for me with DC Comics. I would love to do it. It would be a huge new paradigm shift for this character, and I would love to tackle it. In terms of other IP, I want to work on Star Trek, and I want to work on Doctor Who, and I want to work on Star Wars.
I would love that.
But Marvel, there are characters at Marvel that I would really want to tackle. Maybe it's the Green Lantern stuff, but I really would love to maybe have the keys to Richard Rider for a minute.
That would be really fun. Seeing Nova, and hey, he's getting a new show. I mean, he's getting an MCU show in the future, so.
Well, and I'm not going to make him gay or anything. Come on.
I know someone was going to be like, oh, he's going to do this, or like, I doubt it.
I didn't even do that with Alan. He was already before I got here.
Yeah, and I think like the best thing what you did with Alan, because even speaking, I'm also for LGBT and all that, but like my thing was Alan kind of felt like kind of forced, but you managed to balance making both him have his family and also do the retcon justice.
Right. To me, that was the whole story. Was what does it say about him and his family and his life and his, who he is as a hero? So I had to. To me, that was what the story had to be about. And ultimately, you saw it by the end of the series that's what it was.
You are Alan Scott, and you are loved.
Yeah,
that was the line.
And it was about his kids. It was about him. He had that conversation with Todd at the end of the book. It was very important. He was talking about his relationship with Todd's mother, really, which was the story of the Red Lantern that he was telling him was really about him and Rose Thorne.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think fans got cynical when he came out of the closet at Infinite Frontier, and then they didn't really have a story to support that.
Yeah.
And tell you sort of here's why this is important for you to know about this character. Here's what it means about him. And so I totally understand why fans would have felt cynical about that.
Yeah.
And then, but happily, it was just a matter of, look, there's a lot of stuff going on at DC at that time. A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I had, Titans Academy, they retired that book during that period just because they were paring back the line. They were kind of changing how many books they were doing.
Yeah.
So there was all kinds of questions. But happily, they came around and decided that we needed to have an Alan Scott story, and it needed to be, explaining why we told you this new information about him.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for everything. I cannot wait to see what you do in the future. This was a phenomenal interview. Thank you so much for taking time out to talk about this stuff.
Thank you so much. And I don't know if you saw who's stalking you right now, but
look at that!
Pretty amazing.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fun conversation right there.
I know. I can't wait.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.